All right. Waiting to see if anybody's here with us today. Start off. Want to say hello to anybody who's here or if those who are coming in. Definitely want to say hello to those who are going to be on in the future. This is H&D Abroad. I am Herman. I am here without D today. We're going in on a different conversation today, but here on H&D Abroad, we look to help Black couples see moving abroad as a plan A for healthy lifestyle and building generational wealth. And we do that through sharing our journey in real time. So we are in the process of finding the place that will be our future home, our forever home potentially, excuse me. Right now, we're still building our process as we prepare ourselves to move from the U.S. to that place which we're going to love. A part of the way of doing that is building community through interactions, through interviews we have here online, through building subscribers and getting in contact with you, building community with people just like you who either have moved abroad, who are considering moving abroad, or who are in the process. If that sounds good to you, then we ask that you like, share, and subscribe. And of course, always hit the notification bell so that you know when we're on. We're going to jump right in today. I'm going to bring in our guests. All right. Both our guests are here today. All right, here we go. We have our gentleman here today. We're having an all men's discussion. You got here brown bald guys in glasses. That's our discussion today. So I'll let each one of you introduce yourselves. We'll start with Cedric. We'll start with Cedric, and then Lamar can introduce himself next.
Okay, hey, how's it going? I'm Cedric Robinson from Agent Grateful. My wife and I have a YouTube channel, kind of documenting our process of moving abroad. So glad to be here.
Okay.
Yep. I'm Lamar Martin. My wife and I have a YouTube channel called Lamar and Angela. We've documented our process as far as moving to Mexico, and actually a successful attempt at getting ready for retirement, being in a place and setting up things so that we can live comfortably in our glory years going forward. So that's me and my wife Angela.
Excellent. All right. Thank you to you both for being here. So honored to have you. These are my boys. It's good to see you. Say hi to Intentional Metamorphosis.
See you.
That's Rob and Alice. They just moved to Puerto Vallarta in July. Congratulations. Congratulations. We'll be down that way.
Nice.
We'll be down that way, down in Mexico in later this fall, so we can do our renewal. So watch for those videos because we'll be coming out with videos asking questions as well as providing information that we have. All right, so our conversation today. This conversation to me is, I think, important because it's essential to who we are as men. And that is the look towards retirement. Retirement is one of those things that is almost, for some people, I think, a death knell. It means the end of everything that I know. As men, I believe that we are a large part of who we are as people is showcased in the work that we do. Not for everybody, but a lot of what we do and how we do and the work that we do, that becomes a part of our identity. And so when we aren't working anymore, when that's not our lives anymore, so many times we lose a part of ourselves. And so I want this conversation today to kind of evaluate that process and what we're looking at and how to prepare for that as men, especially when we're looking at this move abroad process, because in this move abroad process, it is going to look completely different. Am I going to be retired and be on vacation? Am I going to be retired and be stuck in a spot sitting around the house? What's retirement going to look like? I am not currently retirement age. In just a couple of months, I'll be 50. And so my wife and I are still in the middle of our employment life. We're still working, we're still making money. Even as we plan to move abroad, we're still building wealth and our future planning for the homes. What about you guys?
I'll go first. We're in the same state. I mean, I'll be 50 in November. So 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 we're still working as well. And to be honest, I really didn't think. You think about retirement, but you don't really think about it because in your mind's like, oh, it's I got a little bit of time to think about it. But when I hit 49, I was like, wait a minute. I only have a few years left. What does my retirement look like? So I really kicked it into high gear and started researching and studying and how can I make this retirement comfortable and be able to enjoy it and put it on the fast track. And moving abroad kind of helped jumpstart that in a way. I mean, in a nutshell, I mean, it's not that easy, but you know what I mean? It makes it, for us, it makes it, we can live more comfortable and still save a lot more money than we could in the US trying to do the same thing, for sure. So that's kind of what jumpstarted our look abroad, really.
Okay. What about you, Lamar? What are you retired? Are you retiring? What are your plans, or what have you set in motion?
So when we initially came here, it was more like a sabbatical, taking time because the pandemic was such a boy, that was rough. How it affected our family, mental health of the kids, things like that. So, and also looking at how, so it became a necessity. It became something that had to happen. So it was a sabbatical to take a rest. And then also we needed the time so we could get to know the country that we moved to, the city of Querétaro, Mexico, where we're currently living, to understand the culture, how things work. The things here are different. The people are friendly and helpful, but the culture is different. So we, out of respect, working on my Spanish, learning, and things like that. So the whole idea was to move to a place where we could enjoy life. I'm a sports fan, so I build and race RC cars. So there's a track nearby that I go to on a regular fun. And that's what retirement should look like. I'm looking up. I'm 11 years older than you guys, so a lot of my classmates, there's been a lot of my classmates who have died suddenly, who have passed away, and I don't consider 61 old at all. I'm not as quick as I used to be, but at the same time, I can't get up in the morning. And so that makes a big like that. Since moving here to Mexico, I'm about 2 pounds. So, just eating differently, about the same preservatives, the amount of sugar and things like that in the food, it's made a big difference. So health-wise, if my genetics hold, my grandmother lived to 100. My dad was almost 90 when he passed away. They're a big part. So, but the reason for moving here was to have a better lifestyle.
All right. So Robert McGee, thanks for letting us know. Robert is saying that we're having some feedback here. Not sure how that's happening because I don't know. Do you all hear the feedback? I don't hear it. So I'm not quite sure. I guess we'll kind of try to mute in between our talking. You kind of let us know if you would, Robert, when that's happening, when it's not, because I can't hear it on my side. All right. So I want to kind of step into that. You talked about a sabbatical. Now we've been listening to the ladies who've been, our wives.
I hear a little bit of the feedback.
You do hear feedback? Okay. I did not hear it. Okay. Say mute yourself for a second. Let me see if that's coming from just the feedback. Let me know, Robert, that does better or not. Definitely there are audio issues. Okay, Professor. Not sure what's happening. Okay, let's see. Give me 1 second. I'll detach my mic. Tell me if that makes it any better. I don't know if it's on my side or not. All right, so I've detached my mic. Y'all let me know if that makes a difference on my side or not. Can you still hear me?
Oh, you sound a lot clearer now. Huh?
Okay, sound clearer now. Okay, I detached my big mic. Maybe that makes a difference. All right, so Lamar talked about sabbaticals, and we hear the ladies talking about they took sabbaticals. It is uncommon to hear about a guy taking a sabbatical because that sounds like I'm sitting around at home. It sounds like like I'm being lazy. What's going on? Living, loving abroad. What's happening, Stevie? You have a ball, brothers. Yeah, and taking a sabbatical. So taking a sabbatical, I've been in places in my life where I've taken some time off, and I felt guilty. I felt like, I should be out working. I should be out more time. These past 3 weeks, I've worked almost 60-hour weeks, trying to put some money ahead, wanting to be in a stable environment, wanting to make things work, but also recognizing that I'm burning myself out. How do we avoid that, Sid? How do we take a sabbatical and not feel guilty about it?
I think it's a change of mindset too, because one thing that we do differently now is we try to fund things that we're going to do, right? So, for example, if our rent is $1,000 a month, right, and we try to fund that ahead of time, right? So then if we fund that ahead of time and put that money in a separate account and it's paid for, then I can take a sabbatical and not really have to worry about, I need to generate this income because, it's already sitting over here in the bank and it gives me a little breathing room. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of one thing that we've been doing. We've been kind of funding these buckets for things we want to do. And then it takes some of the stress off of having to produce income. Now I still work. I have a regular 9 to 5, so I got a steady paycheck. But my wife, she has real estate, so it's it's hit or miss between her deals. So that took a lot of that load off of her, so we can do things like that. So I think it's just a matter of changing for us, it was a matter of changing how we looked at things.
So in the middle of working, what's the financial plan that's in place so that money has building options for you? How do you look at that? So you say, okay, this money, because there's so many current responsibilities. When you're living a life where you're not retired, you're looking at your life in terms of, I still have all these things to do. I still have the bills to pay. I still got potentially some college funds to deal with. I think we all got some kids that are still in that transitional phase of, college and being on their own. You got, my middle son is living in an apartment for the summer and potentially moving out on his own. And he's been
Right.
driving one of our vans. And he called me at 6 o'clock in the morning on his way to his very good paying job and said, the van just cut off on me. So I got vehicles that aren't even at my house that I'm paying for. How do you plan for that and say, I'm not trying to work forever? Because a lot of times what happens is we work till 65, 70 or later, trying to still take care of the bills, the finances, the mortgage, the whatever. How do we combat that? What's the I've had enough point in that conversation?
That's a good one. Here's the thing that I've realized about being in the United States. And I've said this before, and people may not agree with me, but the American dream is not what it actually is, and especially for people of color, it's for sure not. I mean, the systemic racism, from a housing standpoint, still exists. It's a major problem, and so for us, we're constantly living from hand to mouth. And one incident, like you were just talking about, cars breaking down, health issues, whatever, can break you in a matter of less than a month in some cases. So what do you do about that? How do you get around that other than finding somewhere where your money translates to a higher value? And that's what brought us to Mexico. However, right now the pesos is kind of making a little bit of a, comeback as far as its value. So, what we would purchase with the American dollar here doesn't go as far. It's still a lot. It's more, but the issue is with us as men when you talk about identity and job. From a biblical standpoint, we're commanded to be the head of the household. Command is not I look at it as something that you want to do, you have to do, because your heavenly Father, just like my dad said, go cut that grass. I got to go cut that grass because Dad said go cut the grass.
Right.
But at what point in your life do you say, like you said, enough's enough? I can't take this. The stress and the working you constantly takes a toll on you. If it's a physical job or if it's an intellectual job where you have to use, your brain power to get through this, and then dealing with people, dealing with managers who should never have been a manager in the first place, who stress you out, who cause major health issues, because stress more than likely is part of the reason why I did pick up weight, and the lack of stress and better eating and the environment helped me to lose 15, 20 pounds. So where does it end? When does it stop? When do you have a good quality life? Because I believe that most companies in the United States who have this edict about work-life balance, it's a lot of lip service. They don't really put forth the effort to make sure that happens. And this is why what Cedric said about people having to come back into the office when the pandemic has proven that I can do my job straight from home, be just as successful and productive, but you want me to come in to the office because you don't trust? Why don't you trust the output of work that I'm putting in? Why don't you trust that I'm an adult and a professional and I can handle this? Yeah, there's some people out there that have issues with their self-discipline and their character, but you need to deal with them individually, not me. Just because John over here can't seem to stay online during the day when he's supposed to work, that's not me. That's not my problem. I had this issue years ago when I worked part-time at a grocery chain in the Washington, D.C. area, and I requested to have off. And the manager told me no because too many people are asking to have off. And I looked at her and I said, but that's not my problem. You're the one telling them yes. That's not my problem. I only came to you once. I haven't come to you multiple times asking to have off. So why are you penalizing me because other people are asking and you're saying yes? Okay. And I took off that weekend and she wanted to write me up. But I was like, I don't care. I have an obligation and I gave her almost 3 weeks notice. So, these things happen in the workplace with managers and supervisors who should not be supervisors, should never been elevated to that position. And it makes it stressful for us as men because we have to tolerate that. And for Black men, we have to be 2, 3, 4 times better than our white counterpart just to make sure that they don't look at us from a race standpoint. I mean, I could go, this is why affirmative action was so important. When you look at the hiring practices of companies, and when they saw a Black man come in with 10 years of experience for this particular occupation, and the white man only had 1 or 2, but the hiring manager was white and he felt more comfortable with the white man, he hired the white man. I can't even get a job and I have more experience. So I have to prove myself daily when I'm at a job to make sure that they don't look at me and go, oh, he's one of these lazy, shiftless Negroes who doesn't want to come into work. I'm sorry, I'm from that baby boomer generation. A bit of a sore spot with being treated unequally by somebody just because of the color of their skin. So that plays a huge part in us as men holding jobs, making sure that our family is taken care of, making sure that we bring the food in, make sure that the house and the bills are paid, and also taking care of others.
It's a part of the guilt factor that sometimes we adopt as men. Robert says, don't forget that some of your plans in pre-retirement will be a part of your retirement mentality.
Yes.
And that's something that we're going to jump into as we go. We talk about, if you've been here with us before, you've heard me say, Dee and I are really trying to put into practice a lot of the lifestyle habits we want when we move before we walk off of this continent, before we walk out of the States.
Right.
Because if we're waiting to do them after we've moved, then we'll never do them. Yeah. If you were to build on your relationships after you got married, you're in a bad place.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
It's important to do it after you got married when you recognize the things that need to be worked on. We're waiting, we'll get married and then we'll fix it. Yeah.
It's funny. We just had this conversation this morning, and exactly to your point was a lot of people think once you retire, all of a sudden there's this light switch, right? I'm gonna retire, then I'm gonna go, hiking and doing all these things. But when you move abroad or wherever you're gonna go, your lifestyle is gonna follow you. So if you were in the States and you were working 9 to 5 and you come home and you eat and you watch TV and stuff like that, chances are when you move abroad, you're gonna do the same thing. Now you might go through the honeymoon phase in the beginning where it's all new, but eventually you're gonna get back in that. So I think, like you said, it's very important to start these habits now. And if that's what you want to do, there's nothing wrong with that, right? But don't have this vision that you're gonna, once I move, it's just gonna open up all this stuff. That's not necessarily true, so that's one thing I talk to people all the time. It's like, it's not, your lifestyle is good. Is your lifestyle.
Yeah, right. And you're gonna have growth points. I mean,
right.
There's living, loving abroad. They're saying, make sure. Hold on a second. Dropped it. They're saying that they were able to see a lot of the waste that they had in the States when they moved away. That kind of hindsight, but you also start some of that practice. You see some of those things moving. We talked about decluttering. We did a video on decluttering a couple of weeks ago, and in that video, we're looking at, okay, there are really some things that don't have long-term purpose. Now, and understand that applies to everybody differently. Lamar and Angela had full videos saying, hey, these things were important to us. And despite how you feel about them, they were important to us, and they took those things and they made it part of their lives. That was their choice. That's full of respect. And I've known other people who said, when I walked out the door, I had a bag. Right. We burned up everything. It was gone.
as my wife would say, if you like it, I love it. If that's what your journey has been or is going to be, that's for you. But don't judge me because I enjoy my hobby that I've been enjoying since 1998. And I get to a place where there's a track 2-3 kilometers from my house, and I can go and have an absolute ball and enjoy life. And and hanging out with these guys who have been so nice, who have been helpful and welcoming. That has been a large part of my life for the last 25 years. So why wouldn't I bring that with me? And if somebody gets these items when I leave this earth, whether it's my son or somebody sells it off, somebody's going to be the better for it because it brought me such joy. So I'm not going to judge somebody on how they decide to move. You want to move with 2 bags and your cat or your dog? Cool. We came here with 2 dogs. We drove from Washington, D.C. to Querétaro, Mexico in 4 days. And it was, for me, it was a great experience. So it's all in what you want to do and how you want to handle it. But I'm not going to sit here and say you shouldn't.
All right. So Robert has a question. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Cedric.
Oh, I was going to say, to hit on what Living, Loving Abroad said, Rick and Lisa said something this week, and it kind of hit me, which was typically in the U.S., we're conditioned to buy things to feel like we're wealthy, but we're not actually wealthy. So we did the same thing. So when moving abroad wasn't even on my radar, right? So we just came to a vacation to Mexico. And then I started thinking, when we started looking at the prices and things, I'm like, wait a minute, if we could find a way to live here and reduce our, expenses, we can save a lot of money for retirement. And that's what it's really about, right? So when we chose to move and we sold our cars and we did everything like that, it was amazing how much money that started coming back into the thing. So now we, for those who follow us, we rented our house. And now since we did that, I'm able to save 65% of my paycheck right now. So that's jump starting all the retirement that, I've been lacking for all these years. So I'm on the fast track, and that's the way to do it. You have to get rid of these expenses and these things that, and you have to find some way to live way below, your means. And you get to a point where it's like, this is just stuff that you don't even, it's just stuff you're spending money on for what?
Yeah, I mean, there are things that we had that we didn't even use. And so, when we decluttered, we sold a lot of it in estate sales. The things that we couldn't sell, we gave away. But leaving the United States without any debt, we did not have any debt at all. So cars were paid for. I actually sold, one of our vans before we left, and not having debt and meeting with a financial planner, meeting with someone who has your 401k is very important, and understanding, some of these tricks and even these things that we're not taught, because my wife always talks about the fact that we didn't have someone in our family that knew about these things, that could pass these financial solutions on to us by looking at index funds, mutual funds, how to roll your money, where to put your money. Right. These kind of things we were not taught. And now, as I learn them, I'm going to pass it on to my kids so that they have an understanding and where to put their money at an early age, so that when they get to retirement age, they won't have to want or need for anything. And that's why for our youngest, who came over with us under our umbrella, we just renewed our our temporary residency for another 3 years. And then after that, it will pretty much automatically go over to permanent. And we told, our oldest son, who's going to UMES here in August to University of Maryland Eastern Shore, that in 3 years, just take a short trip, come to Mexico. It doesn't cost you anything but a plane ticket. Come stay with us. We go make our appointment at INM with our attorney, get your permanent residency card. So if at any point you're like, you know what, let me get back out of the United States, where can I go quickly? You can go straight to Mexico, walk through the line when you come to the airport of a resident, and move right in. This is giving you an option that you can have for the rest of your life that you can utilize. And that was important to us to get that done, because I could not put up with the inequity of the United States. And it just became extremely hard when you look at when people purchase houses there. They only stay in their houses a lot of times for maybe 5-10 years before they sell them. And now houses are in the $1 million range in the area where we were living, and it's not affordable. You can't work the whole of your life trying to keep a house, and you're just barely living.
So Robert asked this question: what are the top 3 things to do before you can truly retire? Before we answer that, what is true retirement?
That's a deep question, man. For me, I think it's having the freedom to do what you want to do when you want to do it, and having the financial stability to not have to worry about where this income is going to come from. That's retirement. It doesn't necessarily mean I'm not working. It just means that I want to do things on my terms, and my financial situation is stable.
Yeah, there was a commercial. I forget which financial advisory company put this out, and the guy he delivered papers. He had a lemonade stand. He had this. He had that. And these are all things that he worked at that he enjoyed. And they asked him, "What's your retirement plan?" He says, "I'm not too much on the retirement, but I like to plan out what I enjoy." Mm-hmm. So if you're doing something that brings money in that you enjoy, then it's really not work. It's a passion. So, for me, I don't mind working, but if I have to work under the oppression of a company that treats you badly, that don't give severance when they let you go. It happened to me, and that's after 24 years. Those kind of things really, are not what you want when you are an employee. And so if you're an entrepreneur, or if you want to have your own business and do what you find enjoyable, then it's not work. So you can stop work whenever you want, go back to it. And but retirement is like what Cedric said, is to be able to have the financial freedom to do what you want when you want, when you feel like it, without any stress. A lot of people have stopped work and dropped dead, 2-3 weeks later. My wife had a friend whose father that happened to. He always talked about going to Vegas, and he stopped working at the postal service, and within a month he was gone. So I don't want that existence. I don't want that to happen. I know that God's going to call me home one day, but in the meantime, I want to be able to live life to the fullest, and like tomorrow's not going to come.
The FIRE movement, the financial independence, retire early, the FIRE movement completely began to reshape how I saw retirement.
Right.
Because retirement always meant I work until, and then either I can't work anymore, or they won't let me work anymore, and then I go home. That's what retirement was. And you go home, you sit on the couch, you watch TV, you cruise, you whatever. You downsize life until, as you say, the good Lord takes you home.
Right.
I don't see retirement like that anymore. Retirement for me is, when can I stop putting my talents in somebody else's basket? When can I freely make my craft 100% work for me? And accept that might not ever happen. It's not to say that moving abroad may not be a part of that process. I want it to be. It's the plan for the process. But what I want first for myself is how do I live at my maximum for me?
Right.
And that changed a lot about how I look at things, because then I see the world as and the things that are happening in the world as a now process instead of as a future process. One day I'll travel. One day I might move abroad. One day I can take a break. One day I can relax. One day I can take a vacation. I can do all those things now in the middle of still being a working adult. Because I plan differently, I shape differently, I prepare my finances differently. So with that in mind, answering this question, what are the top 3 things you do before you can truly retire? I think one of them, it has to be financial stability. So then that leads us to another question, is what is financial stability?
Financial stability is getting rid of anything that does not hold, or that is valuable, that you see as valuable, that does not get any use. So if you streamline your life and take all these things, not purchasing things that are, as Cedric said, that made you look wealthy. A lot of people buy expensive cars and things like that, when ultimately a car gets you from point A to point B. So if it's a Honda Accord or it's a BMW 8 Series or whatever, they both perform the same function. It's just it's like when a friend of mine's wife wanted to purchase a Acura. I forget the name of what the model of the SUV is, but it's pretty much the same model as the Honda Pilot. Honda puts everything new in their machinery before they put it in Acura. So, but you're paying for the Acura name. Serves the same purpose. Well, why would you pay $15,000-$20,000 more for that Acura when you can get the Honda for 25 to 30? And these things we need to understand, because it's that whole royalty. I don't know if you guys remember when they came out with these air fresheners that you put in your car. They look like crowns.
Crowns, yeah.
They were the most gaudy, most seen. But then it's a cultural thing, because from the motherland, we were watching a House Hunter series in, I think, Nigeria. The furniture in there was of what you would see in some palace. And it's all about royalty with us. And I get it and I understand, but it's a cultural thing where we want to get expensive things and gold and things like that. But what purpose will it serve in our lives? Maybe gold may be an investment that you put in the bank that you can sell, but anything else, it's, if you get a chair that's a plain chair versus one that has a high back, they both serve the same purpose. You sit in it. Is it comfortable? Yes. So realistically, financial management, making sure that you save your money, making sure you meet with a financial advisor for your 401k. Those kind of things are important. And I wish I knew those more then than I do now. And we're doing it now. And as they say, it's never too late. Absolutely. So we're making sure that we have money, and hopefully Social Security is still solvent then. And we have money coming from that as well. So my full retirement age would be 67, which is like 6 years from now. So coupled with the money in my 401k, our financial advisor is telling us you guys will be fine. But those are the things that I think that people need to know now is, make sure you understand these different types of financial funds and what brings the most, money to you when you invest it. And those things are important.
Yeah, I have to agree with intentional metamorphosis. It looks different for everybody. You have to find the plan that works for you, whether you're a single person or you're a couple, whether you have a partner. What's the plan that we're going to do, and then stick to it. Now, mind you, there's going to be some adjustments. You learn some things. When Dee and I started this process of looking to move abroad, and we were putting everything in motion, that process the process now is parallel to that process. Right. But it has some adjustments, because we've learned some things we didn't know before. We've invested in some things we didn't realize we needed to invest in before. We've We've eliminated some things we thought were going to be important that we've had to take out of the process. As men, I'm shifting a little bit here. As men, we dig in.
Yeah.
We've talked about Lamar and I. We talked about before about staying in place because we felt our kids weren't old enough for us to leave, or our parents were elderly and we didn't know if we needed to take care of them. So we make adjustments to our lives because as sons and as fathers and as husbands,
right,
we have all these responsibilities we put on ourselves. The conversation my wife and I have, we take some of the risks of some things we want to do out of the equation because we don't want the risk of that personal desire to affect our home. Even if it's something that we want to do, we want to love, if it might cause risk, if it might cause some level of instability or discomfort, we avoid those things. So we get on a track and we work and we work and we work and we work and we work. And when we finish, we work and we work. So there are people you talk to, they've been retired 3 different times from 3 different jobs.
Sure.
Big sis doula, that's Miss D there. She asked a good question. Hold on a second. Hold on, let me get the right question. There it is. And it goes back to that sabbatical statement Lamar made earlier. What physical symptoms do men need to look at to recognize when we are burned out? And we're not talking about the physical symptoms. At 46, I had a TIA stroke. At 46.
Wow.
Okay, we're not talking about that symptom because you're too far. Right. We're not talking about the heart attack. We're not talking about what are the physical symptoms? Because remember, and I'm saying that's important because we learned as teenagers, we learned as children that pain is a part of the process.
Right.
We learned suck it up.
Right.
You're on the sports field or court. You get hurt, you buck it up, you go. Michael Jordan's got a 105-degree fever, and he shoots 55 points. That's what we do. We buck it up. So what? Moving past the maleness. Moving past the maleness, because there were symptoms and signs before I had the stroke. Moving past the maleness, what are the things we pay attention to that says, bruh, it's time to do it different?
I would love to start with that if you don't mind. So I work in IT security. I've worked in IT for many years now, and I love it. I would do it for free, right? That's how much I love it. But for me, when I start getting irritated at every little thing on my job, I get irritated if somebody sends me an email. If somebody asks me a question, I get irritated. That's the first sign of I'm getting burnt out because I'm doing something I love, but everything that's coming about, I'm getting irritated. I don't even want to get up, and I'm like, you know what? This is just that's the sign that you're really getting burnt out, and you really need to do something else. And that's another thing. And I recognize that. And I was honest with myself, and I said, you know what? This is another reason why I started just getting rid of everything and saving as much as I can, because I said, you know what? Once this is over, I'm gonna have to figure this out because I'm burnt out on this, going these companies working. I need to figure something out for myself. So for me, every little irritation thing, just like, it's a sign that you're getting burnt out. If it's something you love to do and you're getting irritated on it, that's a good sign you're getting burnt out.
Yeah, Cedric and I are in the same line of work. I've been in IT for, 40 years. And so, going to work and dealing with situations and things like that, and you do get irritated. You get an email, somebody says, I got this problem. I'm like, come on now, really? I don't even feel like dealing with this anymore. And there was a term that I learned in a movie, The Last Boy Scout. Damon Wayans used a term called, you ride a horse and put him away wet. And I had to look it up. When you put away a horse wet, that means that it's uncomfortable. That means that horse is irritated. That means that horse is is going to probably end up being sick or having some kind of injury or some kind of illness. So for me, working, you get so burnt out that you don't want to even see work again.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't even want to be bothered with people. And one of the symptoms is not even just getting irritated with you just kind of, you just, you know, go through the motions. You just kind of there. And that's a sign of being burnt out when you're not putting forth your best effort. Because I
Mm-hmm.
enjoy IT. I've been building computers and things like that, doing network stuff for years. But when you're just going through the motions and just like, and you just going, you're not giving your best effort. Yeah, you're getting paid, but you're not. You're just kind of there. You know, at what point does the burnout turn into a lifelong burnout? Because at some point in time, it's going to get to the point where you're like, I don't even want to work anymore. I don't even feel like doing this anymore. I need to find something else to do because when a pastor said something, when a man doesn't get any kind of recreation, it causes major problems with regard to how they behave in life. So you need to have those times where you have downtime, a break, to be able to do. Even if I just sat on my derriere and did nothing but watch television, I can breathe. You know, but when you're having to go in and then deal with personalities that don't really uh, understand what is going on, but they're still cracking the whip. They're curt with you. They're disrespectful to you. It makes it very difficult to, and that plays a big part in being burnt out. Dealing with people, it's one thing to deal with the IT, the professional part that we love, but then having to deal with the people, it makes it just horrible to deal with. So those are symptoms I saw when I got burnt out.
I think one symptom that we tend to ignore is depression.
Yeah.
And depression can look a lot of different ways. Depression is not always, I'm sad, I'm draggy, I'm moody.
Right.
Sometimes it's those symptoms you just named, both of you. I don't want to anymore. I'm not excited when I'm here. I'm just here. I'm just going through the motions, and depression can really put a damper on moving forward.
Yeah.
Anger, unexplained anger, violence. Say you talked about frustration. Just those outpoint of negative and things that you enjoy, you aren't enjoying.
Right.
If you're at a job that is, they're doing your thing, that's what you like to do, and you don't want to go, those can be signs of depression and burnout.
Yeah.
Let's see. Our Exodus Life is on. Hey, our Exodus Life, jump right in. I got a statement from her. Burnout takes years to recover from.
Yeah.
By the time people get to retirement, they're attempting to recover from burnout with limited resources. That is true.
Yeah. True. Very
And
true.
and recognizing where you are now. You got a question directly to you, Cedric, from Big Sis Dula. Waiting for it to come up here. Can you share things that are steps that give you confidence in your upcoming retirement? So you're trying to revamp. You're trying to look at it differently. How are you putting things in place so that you feel confident moving forward as you're working towards retirement? I'm gonna mute myself because I think they said we got some echo.
For me, it's okay. So I make a pretty decently high six-figure income, and now that we've gotten rid of all of this stuff and we don't have any more debt, to be able to save 65% of that, the compound interest is real. We started doing the FIRE movement, and we're getting into those groups and talking to financial advisors and all that. To be able to just in 3 or 4 months see the money just explode, because now it's all going into these investments and things like that. And even things as simple as we had an emergency fund in our USA account forever, right? And I didn't even really pay attention to it. It's, it's out of sight, out of mind. But one day I started looking at the interest on it, and it's like 1 month 10 cents, 1 month 9 cents, whatever. So the sum is simple as moving that money over to Capital One, which is 4 point some percent, interest. That same money the next month it's $60, $70, $80, $90 a month, just like that. So just making smarter decisions now is giving me the confidence. Now, if I can sustain my goal is to sustain where I am, income wise for the next 5 or 6 years. And I think that will, we'll be set, comfortably enough to where, we should be good if in case something does happen. So that's what's kind of giving me the confidence. It's not having that. I think somebody mentioned it on the chat earlier about looking back and realizing all this stuff that, that we didn't use. So just seeing that money free up, now it's like an addiction. Like what else can we free up to save this money, right? So that's what's kind of giving me the confidence in that.
So one of the things that I'm wanting to address is, and I'm going to use a culinary analogy. People say, oh, I need to lose weight. That's a common one. And when they lose weight, first thing they say is, I'm on a diet. My concern about diets are, this is what I do right now till I see the results I want to have, and then I do whatever. And what I always encourage is a lifestyle change. And I think a part of the process for moving forward as men towards being better potential and existing retirees is a lifestyle change. We have to see our lives as, man, we see these women online, the 77-year-old lady, she foxy, she working out, she doing her thing. There's women running at races at 80, the lady's 85, and she's deadlifting in competitions. And the stereotypical man in the commercial, in the whatever, is we're gut over the belt, sitting on the couch. And when you see those guys who gotten themselves together, then, that's an anomaly. When I think I've watched this journey that Lamar has been on, and I'm saying watched on purpose. There's half the guy standing there, and he wasn't a huge guy before, but there's a small guy on that screen down there at the bottom, just because I can see the lifestyle change. And we've had several conversations over the past year, and I can see the change. You guys have moved. I can see the existing glow as it was in the lifestyle change. And it's not just I live somewhere else and so it's better for me. It's you all are making changes. 99.9% of the Black men in this country will live and die in this country. They're not going to move abroad. Okay. And so the retirement question is about, how do I live where I am? And the first thing I want to say is, brothers, we got to get active. There is never a too late to be active, to be healthy. I talked to a young brother at my job this week. He's 32. Now, I do some part-time work for the post office, and he's a primary carrier. He's only been there a couple of months, and I've watched him getting really small. And I found out that he is currently practicing being plant-based, vegan. And so we got into this conversation, and he said, I've stopped smoking, I've stopped drinking, I've stopped eating meat, I've stopped taking dairy, which is all great. Problem is, in trying to cut out all of those things too, he doesn't immediately have a plan on how to make the positive things move forward. There has to be two parts in that process. What do I need to accomplish, and what's the plan to that accomplishment? You can't say I want to fly and jump off a cliff. You got to get in the plane. to be able to fly because you weren't born with wings. And you're not any less flying than the bird is, you're just flying differently. And we had to find out what that process is for making that work. So what are some things you would encourage men to do in their lifestyle changes to make a better move forward towards retirement? And I'll take Lamar first.
So I think just coming here, because when I was in the States, it was get up, go to work, come home, go to bed kind of deal. We had bicycles. I would ride periodically, go on a walk in the neighborhood where we lived. But it has to be consistency in that. Consistency in what you do as a lifestyle change to be healthy. I'm not going to run. Not going to do it. Joints not going to take that. Plus, it's hard on the joints. However, I can walk, and I can walk at a quick pace. I can ride my bike and get cardio that way. Here in Mexico, there are preservatives in food, but not the same. Give you an example for you, Herman. You know, you get shredded cheese in a bag. Here in Mexico, for the most part, they don't put cornstarch in the cheese to keep it separate. It becomes clumped up. So what's happened with us is that we buy a block of cheese and I grate it when I need it. And so we eat a lot more fruits, vegetables, and things like that. But I think it's the balance of that. You know, me becoming a vegan, I don't see it happening. It may be healthier, but we don't eat that much meat anyway. I mean, we, chicken, beef every once in a while, but it's about that activity point. It's about having recreation, something that you enjoy, that brings your stress level down. It's not talked about enough how stress really does kill. Stress in your life really does kill. And if you don't have a healthy activity that you enjoy outside of, at one time, my hobby was building computers. I used to build computers when, back in the late 80s, early 90s, all the way up to the one that's sitting here that I'm using right now, was built from parts that you get from Newegg and things like that. But that wasn't enjoyable to me as much as building and racing RC cars. So you find something that brings you joy, something that lifts your spirits. And if it doesn't make you put a smile on your face, because someone made a comment, it was funny. I came in third at a race in Mexico City, and they said, "You're happier than the guy that came in second," because I had a ball. I go to race. The first thing is to have fun. And I gave my daughter this analogy. It's like making an ice cream sundae. The first reason for going there is the ice cream, the fun. Now, if things are going well that day, put a little chocolate syrup on that ice cream. And then if it's going even better, a little caramel, better, some sprinkles and maybe some nuts, and then, if I make it onto the podium, and podium in racing is, either first, second, or third, you throw the whipped cream on. But the cherry on the top is if I come in first. But the foundation of that entire day is that ice cream, which is the fun. And I come away having a great time regardless of if I placed or not. And so that is very important when you look at your life. And you got to have that foundation of joy and fun. And if there's no joy and fun, the rest of it it's going to cause you problems. So my stress level has gone way down. So, and people have noticed that, someone said I seem lighter, not so much from a weight standpoint, but just me. This is the best thing that we've ever done. When God makes a nest uncomfortable, and he did in the United States, and we had to get out of that nest. When you're in a dysfunctional relationship, you don't stay, you leave. Something that you see men and women do in dysfunctional relationships. They stay, but if you don't get the help to correct what's going on there, it's a problem. So that's me. I'm better for this move.
Yeah, and I literally everything Lamar said. I mean, we were. I would say this. You're talking about being in the States or even wherever you are. If you're not a gym person, don't waste your money on a gym membership. Just go outside. Like Lamar said, he's not going to run. So why am I going to go in the gym, try to get on a treadmill to run just to say I checked this box? Make a lifestyle. We were intentional about where we live in Mexico because we're not getting a car and we walk everywhere and we're in the downtown area with all the hills on purpose. So we can walk up hills, we can do all these things because I don't like to run either at all. Um, but I will walk all the way across town, no problem. I'll walk 20, 30, 40 minutes and with no problem. And when we first got out here, my Apple Watch was like, "Hey, are you okay?" Because when I went back and did my weekly summary, we had walked 40 miles in a week, and didn't even feel like it. So it's just, and then like Lamar mentioned too, it's the food and everything makes a difference out here. I can't say it enough. Like people say it all the time, but not having, just like when we were kids, not having all the things in the food, it makes a difference. It makes a huge difference. But just try to get the stress out of your life and try to find something you enjoy. If that's walking, or just be active. Any kind of way you can be active. Don't try to if you have to force yourself to do something active, then that's probably not you're not going to stick with it anyway. Just like you mentioned with going vegan and all those type of things. You're not going to stick with it if it's something that you're not passionate about doing anyway. So try to find a better way to incorporate, maybe you eat, less beef or whatever. It's about a lifestyle and not this, thing I need to do just to achieve this result. Because once you get that result, and like you mentioned earlier, Herman, once you get that result, you don't have a plan, you're just going to fall right back in the same trap all over again. So for us, it's been, I was talking to young Jimmy from Food, Faith, and Fun. We are just joking yesterday. I think he's lost like 20 some pounds since he's been here. And that's all we do is walk. Just something as simple as walking and less stress. It you can see the difference.
Yeah, yeah. Dee added earlier. She said, "Gentlemen, go to the doctor." That's a big nemesis for men, especially for Black men. We have all of our history about medical professionals and go to the doctor. Like Kumo D said, go to the doctor. They tell you how old I am right there. But you got statements by, Big Sis Dula says she sees you and Bobby out on the beach. Trust me, she tells me all the time, we got to move near the water so we can be out near the beach. Our Exodus life is saying waking up on their own schedule. It takes away the stress because I'm not trying to be somewhere at 8 o'clock in the morning or 6 o'clock in the morning. I don't have to work till 7, 8 o'clock. Living, Loving Abroad says they don't have a car. They're walking. When I was laughing at Cedric's example, when we were down in Mexico last year getting our visas, my health app on my phone was like, you are, 9,000 steps past your goal. You are 32,000 steps past your goal. Each day we walked, and we were only there 9 days. And in 9 days, our clothes fit differently when we came back. Because you invest in a process that's not, I don't have to go across town to get where I'm going. Was listening to Rick and Halisi from Our Black Utopia a couple of weeks ago. They're in Colorado taking care of some family business. And they're talking about just noticing already. I did drive across town. There was another couple, JP, I can't think of their whole names, but they were talking about how they having to go across town and, they drive way more than they do living down there in Ecuador. And so, they put on weight just being home, trying to take care of business. Our Exodus life, fresh food. Oh man. the fruits, there was a little fruit guy where we passed that was on the way to the I&M every day. And he was cutting up fresh papaya, fresh mango, fresh pineapple, fresh limes and lemons. It was like I was back in Miami again, man. I was walking past the Sangria bar. And that, but finding those things as a part of our lives so that they aren't fads. We don't want to move out of the country and then get there and then, you know, I'm still eating fried chicken and fried foods and fatty foods and then I'm end up sick anyway because I didn't practice taking care of myself.
Sorry, real quick. One thing, like when we first got to Mexico, it was just habit, right? We would go to Sam's or Costco. We buy all this food for a week or two, put it in the refrigerator. Yeah, half of it would go to waste and all that stuff. And then I started just watching around us, and I noticed people walking with their little bags, you know, every day. And I'm like, so once they stopped, I said, hey, you know, where are you going? Whatever. Oh, it's a market right over here across the street. So every 2 days, people walk to the market. So we changed our habit. Why are we still trying to live like we're in America? It's fresh food, and it's 10 times cheaper to go get the fresh stuff every couple of days from the market. I mean, you got to make those adjustments.
There are two things with that. I mean, in the States, you go to the store every 2 days, you're going to spend more than your grocery budget because you're buying and gas. You know, you got to buy in bulk so you don't have to come back over here, 30 times. When you live down the street from where you need to be, from the market, from the fresh foods, from the produce, there's a store. And I'm finding that a lot of places that aren't here, food deserts as a word has been designated to areas that don't have grocery stores. But if your grocery store is 10 minutes away from your house and you don't have a car, you live in a food desert. It doesn't matter how prosperous the area is you live in, because you got to spend a lot of resources to go all the way to the grocery store. If you got little markets everywhere around you and you can walk to the market, you're getting exercise in, you're getting fresh food, you're getting fresh air, it's a whole process growing. Hold on. What did Living, Loving Abroad say there? About to go to hit the gym. Man, it was great having you, bro. I saw all the financial information that Steve was throwing on here. You all need to go through back to that chat and see that information. Looks like we've lost Lamar's connection. I want to be able to say retirement does not have to be a death knell for us as men, especially for us as Black men. It can be an awakening. It can be the start of a new process and more control over our lives. So you can be retired at 40. You can be retired at 50. You can be retired at 30 from the regular old thing, the regular old life, the regular old process. You might still work. What's your passion? What's your craft? What's your goal? Retire from the everyday. Retire from the bad living, the bad health. Build some friends, some positive friends. I am thankful to all the people who joined us in the comments today. I saw you all. Thanks, Sid, for jumping on. Lamar, I know you came in through. Lamar and Angela, y'all keep them in your thoughts. They are in the process of moving again. So there's always a growth process in that. We are standing with them and supporting them in that process. Said, I hope to see you in a couple of months. We'll come through and you and I can celebrate those 50-year those November birthdays.
Absolutely.
We hope that you enjoyed our conversation today. Please like the video. Please share it with others so they can come by and check it out. Check out our other videos. Y'all give a shout out to Miss D. It was her special month this month. We keep moving forward. Ring that notification bell. We hope to see you again soon. Thanks to everybody for coming out. We're H&D Abroad. I'm Herman. Good to see you all.